everybody. Artistry and Finesse joining you for an explosive Labor Day podcast. Finesse, where has the summer gone?
It's gone fast, and I'm not sure what to talk about. We did a podcast maybe 2 weeks ago, and we also didn't know what to talk about. And then we went for 30 minutes, so you never really know. I mean, I guess we're going to talk about the Steelers. We'll probably touch on the Pirates, probably going to make the playoffs of 80 wins already. And other than that, I don't know. I mean, we'll just see what happens. We'll give shout-outs to our followers, I think, at the end of the podcast.
Look, I think people have no expectations other than that they'll be supremely entertained.
Some of the best,
I think we can.
The best entertainment is when you have no expectations.
Right. I'm often most entertained when I'm sitting alone in a room with absolutely nothing to do.
Watch this. Speaking of not having a lot of expectations, the Steelers go into this season with expectations very low compared to normal. You see how I did that? Did you see that?
You've learned well.
Yes. One day you'll hang up your headphones and I'll be left to carry on. And I'll have
the
segues.
segue tradition.
Yeah, I'll have segues like that. I guess I should mention before we start talking about anything in particular that the Pitt game is on in the background. Are
no
you
kidding?
Do you where on your radar is Pitt football right now?
Well, it's just not. As evidenced by the fact that you said the Pitt game's on, and I said you're kidding. I had no idea they were even playing. I think we should just gloss right over Pitt and move right into the Steelers.
All right, let's do it.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I just had a fantasy draft, and Le'Veon Bell's, it's an auction draft, Le'Veon Bell's name pops up. Where does he go, in your view, in an auction draft? How much do you pay out of your $200 budget for Le'Veon Bell? He's had a lot of hype, but he can't get on the field.
Yeah, and he's out. I mean, he's out for like 6 weeks, right?
I don't know that it's going to be 6. I think that because he didn't have to have surgery, it could be just a few weeks. But that's something you have to factor in. I don't know.
I would say like $3, maybe $4.
Yeah, he went for 9. I don't
too
buy
much.
into. Yeah, I don't buy into this hype. You know, this is all Steelers beat writer generated hype about Le'Veon Bell. I've seen him carry the ball like a total of 3 times. And I don't understand how people can get invested in this idea that he's some kind of savior at running back.
Look, we've seen this way too many times where the team and the media just start hyping people. Like, it starts with one person hypes it, and then someone like quotes that or, just takes it off from there and says, Peter King called him X, and then now they think he's good, and then it just spirals, and then everybody starts thinking somebody's good before they've even done anything. And you see it happen all the time with prospects in hockey, especially. Like these guys in the minor leagues who you really don't know whether they're going to be any good. I say it all the time about like the so-called Penn's young defensive core. It's like we just hear that they're good, but we need to see evidence. And so with Bell, I have no evidence that he's good. I don't know that he's not good. But I can't sit here and say that he is.
I can tell you who's not good. The holy trinity of LaRod Stevens-Howling, Ike Redmond, and Felix Jones. There's no way that you can make something good out of that recipe.
Why did they cut Dwyer?
Aside from the fact that he's not good?
Well, he stinks, but Ike Redmond is horrible. I think Ike Redmond he's worse than like Deuce Staley was that year that we had to cut Deuce Staley.
Yeah, he's not very good.
Or something.
He's not very good. He's had, a game here or there where he's performed reasonably well or at least exceeded expectations. I think what they're looking for as a placeholder until Bell is ready to play is somebody who at least what you're getting. Dwyer, for every good run that he has, and he's had a few, will put the ball on the ground and, will just inexplicably run toward the sideline. He's just maddening to watch play. And I think at least with Redmond you're getting a north-south guy,
Yeah, 3 yards and a sit down. It's not
exactly.
3 yards in a cloud of day. Yeah.
You have 3 of those, you almost have a first down.
Yeah, 3 yards. The last 2 of which are just because you're 6 feet tall and you fall forward after you get tackled 1 yard in. It's not a good running back field at all. But I don't know. I mean, is the line good anyway? Like, that's the other thing. Is now there's this whole like we talked about Le'Veon Bell being overrated or potentially overrated based on like no evidence at all that he's any good. And then now it's like, oh, this is the youngest, most athletic line in Steelers history. And like the preseason, there's been no evidence that the offensive line is good at all.
As a matter of fact, there's evidence to the contrary. The tackles, Gilbert and Mike Adams, were so bad in the preseason that Tomlin felt the need in the 4th preseason game when no starters play, like ever, to play our bookend tackles, Marcus Gilbert and Mike Adams, well into the first half. And I think his rationale was he wanted to protect Landry Jones, give him an opportunity to succeed. That's bullshit. They needed the work. That's the only explanation for that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the line right now. There's a lot of pedigree on that line. You got Florida, Pouncey from Florida, DeCastro from Stanford, Foster from Tennessee, Adams, Ohio State, Gilbert, Florida. Like, they should be a lot better than they are. So, is this a draft thing or is this a coaching? Do we just not know how to coach the offensive line? Because we haven't had a good offensive line since Alan Faneca left.
I have no idea what the answer to that is, but in addition to not being good, they can't stay healthy in recent memory. I can't recall a time when we, since the last Super Bowl probably, when we had relatively healthy offensive linemen. But I think what's most concerning, even more concerning than their performance to date, is I was listening to, what's his name, Mike Pursuta, the DVE sports guy. He was giving his assessment of the Steelers, and he's pretty he seems knowledgeable. I mean, who the hell knows? But
right.
He said that based on his discussions with scouts and coaches, what have you, that he could not come up with 50 guys that are NFL caliber players on the Steelers. And they're supposed to have a 53-man roster. He just couldn't get there. He couldn't find guys, out of the 75 or whatever that they had in camp that could fill out a roster capably. And that's concerning.
Are you saying Guy Wimper isn't doing it for you?
Yeah. And what's more, that the big problem in the NFL now, specifically with the Steelers, but it's a general issue, is that teams can't stock their offensive lines, with decent backups. There's just not enough in the league.
And
the Steelers are like,
they all get hurt all the time.
Yeah, and the Steelers are Exhibit A. They have like 6 decent offensive linemen that could even play passively.
Right.
So if somebody gets hurt, as they will, it's a big problem.
And if there's one thing we've learned from Steelers linemen, both offensive and defensive, over the past 8-10 years or so, it's that they're not afraid to pop a tricep, tear a pec, just any rip a bicep, just any sort of injury that obviously has nothing to do with steroid use at all.
Right. Muscles are just exploding.
They're just tricep muscles.
Combusting. Right.
Ripping off the bone, tricep muscles. I maintain for the millionth time, I don't know anybody in my life who's ever torn a tricep, pectoral, or bicep other than NFL players.
Yeah, I mean, granted, they're pushing large men away from them, so I guess it stands to reason that there'd be a higher incidence of popped biceps, but it seems unusually high.
When do you hear people popping triceps and biceps?
I don't know. Anyway, at the very least, we're looking at a Troy Polamalu renaissance. That's another thing that everybody in Pittsburgh is saying, which, I'll believe it when I see it.
Again, I just look at the team. I don't think at any position there's a top 5 player.
Well, let's think about this. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, and then you could even go farther and probably say, is there a top 10 player at any position. You could put Roethlisberger in the top 10, like the outer half, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 range of quarterbacks. It's up for debate. It's not official,
I don't know. You can't. You have to remember how good that guy is. He's really good. At any given play, he could win you a game, like few others in the league. I know he has his flaws, and they are very notable. But he can really pull things out of his ass that other quarterbacks can't. So,
okay, well, fine. Give him top 10 status.
I definitely do.
Yeah. Who else is a top 10 player at his position in the league on the Steelers? Maybe Woodley, if he's...
Silence in the room.
If he's interested?
I don't see how you bestow that upon him. I just don't.
Polamalu, I guess...
I don't think there could be an if he's interested asterisk, The
if interested category.
Right. Polamalu, maybe if he's Polamalu
on an individual play basis, maybe like you could have a play where he, speaking of top 10, speaking of top 10 players at their position in the league, I saw today, and I'll credit Bob Pompiani because I saw him tweet it out. The Steelers cut Drew Butler officially. Last week we talked about it, but I think Drew Butler got cut today.
I thought he won the job.
I know, but he won the job, and then they cut him anyway and brought in somebody new. Zoltan Mesko.
Wow, that is really a bad sign when you win the job outright among all the competition in camp and you get cut anyway. Bring in some other guy that's like unemployed. I mean, what does that say for the state of the roster?
I'm excited, though, that the punter's name is Zoltan Mesko.
Where did he come from? Did he play for New England?
Yeah, he was New England's punter.
How about that for recall?
Yeah, maybe he can give us some tips on how to beat New England.
Yeah, wow.
Could use all the help we can get.
So, yeah, it's not looking good.
Let's go through the schedule real quick. Let's pick the record game by game.
By all means, let's do it.
All right. So here, I'll keep track of it. Let's go. I'll go. Me.
Oh, here's what I was going to say. You know who's actually going to be good is Cortez Allen. That guy looks really good.
Yeah, he should be. He should be good. That's good. That's good. Print your playoff tickets.
Cortez. All right, let's go through the schedule.
All right, home to Tennessee this Sunday. What do you got? A win or a loss?
I don't think Tennessee's very good. This is a battle of 2 7-9 teams, and I think we pull it out by 3 points. There's going to be a booming Zoltan Mesko punt that pins Tennessee deep in their territory while the Steelers are down 4 in the fourth quarter. Backed up against their goal line, Jake Locker can't get anything going. Steelers get great field position, go down the field on the strength of 2 10-yard Ike Redmond runs, and Ben finds David Paulson in the corner of the end zone, and the Steelers pull out the victory.
Ike Redmond is going to be the first player in league history to run out the last 2 minutes of a game on one 10-yard run. He's that slow.
This reminds me what I just said, what I just pulled out of the air there.
That was great.
Reminds me of the 1980s Steelers teams where, the central figures on your team were so pedestrian that you just knew that you could never aspire to anything more than mediocrity. It was like Weegee Thompson and Rich Ehrenberg were the stars of the team. That's what this reminds me of.
It is troubling times.
It's depressing.
I think we're going to lose. I'm going to put that as a loss.
With no explanation.
I think Jake Locker surprises people this year. And I don't, but bear with me. It's not all negative. So week 2, Monday night at Cincinnati. They've been on Hard Knocks all year. They have AJ Green, who we diagnosed like 3 years ago that he was going to torture the Steelers for the next 12 years. No sign that that's not going to happen. So what do you got?
They're going to kill us. I think it's going to be close. They're going to Bengals by 14.
I'm going to go the other way on this one. I got the Steelers.
That should be the spread.
I got the Steelers winning this game. I think this is going to be a classic Roethlisberger game. And then you're going to see, all the headlines after week 1 are the Steelers stink, but then they're going to beat Cincinnati, and it's going to be like, don't bury them yet. Roethlisberger has some great game. And 1-1 going to week 3, home against Chicago Sunday night.
Wait a second. Before you get too far ahead, I just want you to mark my words. Week 2 in Cincinnati, Geno Atkins is going to so abuse Mike Adams that he is going to take his pads, pack up his stuff, and just go home. And we're going to have Guy Wimper finish the game.
Guy Wimper, by the way, is the only backup tackle on the Steelers roster.
It's bad sign. Although I heard Max Starks just got cut by San Diego, which I think has the worst offensive line in the league.
How many times has Max Starks been on the Steelers? I feel like he's been on the Steelers 50 times.
A lot. All right, I'm sorry. What do we have for week 2?
We got Sunday night, week 3 against Chicago, the second national TV game in the first 3 weeks for the Steelers. So if it's going to go down in flames this year, it's going to go down in a highly publicized fashion. Home against Chicago.
Yeah, when are the networks going to catch up with the fact that the Steelers aren't very good anymore? It may take a couple of years, but we'll enjoy the primetime exposure. In this case, we're going to be exposed by the Bears, who will throttle the Steelers by a score of 28-7.
I got this as a win. I think the Steelers. I think we get our first home win. I think, and this is a game. So if week 2 was Roethlisberger kind of reemerging on the scene, I think week 3 is Polamalu. Big game for Polamalu. Maybe a pick 6. I'll put Polamalu. I'm going to write this down. Polamalu. Pick 6.
Where is this coming from? What? Didn't we just have a discussion about how bad we are?
Look, we're 2-1, okay? Wait till the end of the season.
You have us beating 2 Super Bowl contenders.
Chicago's not a Super Bowl contender, IMO.
All right.
Minnesota.
Maybe ICT.
Minnesota week 4. This is at Minnesota, 1 o'clock, game on CBS. What do you got?
I think we can beat Minnesota. I think, barring a play-action fake display by Christian Ponder, the likes of which we've never seen, I think we can limit Adrian Peterson to 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. And we pull this one out by a score of 19-14.
I'm going the other way. I got this one as a loss. I'm not doing this just to counter you, by the way.
Yes, you are.
I got this as a loss. I think Adrian Peterson's too much. Like Jake Locker, I think people are sleeping on Christian Ponder. I'm excited about Christian Ponder this season.
Didn't he marry an attractive broadcast journalist?
Ponder.
I think he married a sideline.
Yeah, he did.
Or is he dating one?
There's really no difference, I don't think, when it comes to quarterbacks. They're pretty much just dating their wives. They just call them their wives.
Fair enough.
Week 5 is the bye week. I think that's a little bit early to have a bye week with this team. I don't like it.
The Steelers always have an early bye week. When have they ever not had an early bye week? I feel like that's not fair.
What I don't understand is the NFL keeps talking about going to an 18-game schedule. I don't understand why they don't just go to an 18-week schedule and give every team 2 bye weeks. It gives you more rest, so the concussion thing and the injuries and all that stuff is helped.
Yeah, they're not doing an 18-game season anymore. That's off the table.
But they should do an 18-week season, and then you get an extra week of TV, and you just give every team 2 bye weeks. What would be the harm of that?
I'm fine with it.
Sunday, October 13th, maybe the Pirates will still be in the playoffs, at the New York Jets, 1 o'clock CBS.
If you can't beat the Jets this year, then there's no reason you deserve to have a preview podcast. ABICT. The Steelers trounced the Jets 20-3 on the strength of 3 Cortez Allen interceptions of Mark Sanchez.
I I got this. I'm going to chalk this up as a loss. No, I'm going to go. I think this is a win. I think the Steelers get a win on the road against the Jets. I think the defense carries them in this game. I think it's a sloppy game, low scoring. Takes us into the first huge showdown of the year. This is Sunday, October 20th, home against Baltimore, 4:25 on CBS.
Can we count this as 2 losses?
Is this now? Do you think it's possible that this is a season that Joe Flacco, kind of proves his chops in the regular season, becomes like a top 10-ish quarterback? He's been clutch in the. He was clutch in the playoffs last year.
He was. He got hot at the right time, but I'll just never believe that he is in the top tier of quarterbacks in the NFL. It just doesn't. You call me stubborn. Tell me that I'm, laughing in the face of the facts. I don't think so. I think the guy, got really hot for a stretch, and it's just not sustainable for him. I just don't see that. Although I do think that they're going to kill us both times we face them.
All right, so you got Baltimore. Yeah. I can go both ways on this. I see all sides of the argument. I gotta go with Baltimore too. I think this is a loss. I think the Steelers dropped in 3-3. We both have them in 3-3 going in Sunday, October 27th. They go at Oakland. This game is only a few days before Halloween. You're going to see a lot of costumed people in Oakland. Do you think that plays into it at all? The game's at 4:05 on CBS, by the way.
Yeah, when you get close to Halloween in Oakland, anything can happen. Yeah, it's always treacherous in Oakland for the Steelers. We saw that last season. Really, I think, if I recall, and I don't really, but I think it was the start of the downward spiral for us. I think Key cost us that game by jumping off sides.
Yep.
Antonio Brown had a terrible game where he fumbled.
Look, Key may have cost us the game, but at least after the game, he took responsibility for it. So all's fine,
Wait a minute. He said it's on me?
It's on me, boys. It's on me, boys.
Did Ben trump him by saying, no, it's on me?
What do you think about the fact that football players call each other men and hockey players call each other boys? Hey, boys, get out there, boys.
No, they don't call each other boys. Only Mario calls them boys.
Let's go, boys. Let's go, boys.
Hey, boys. Play the puck, boys.
All right, so you got a win or a loss in Oakland?
I think we find ways to hand the game to the Oakland Raiders in Oakland, and I think we do it again.
I agree.
I don't know how it happens, but it's going to happen.
I think this is a loss, too. I think anyone who just looks at the record, you throw the records out the window sometimes when the Steelers play terrible teams, because the Steelers have a real tendency to have these stinkers, like against Kansas City. It'll be like 9-6 or something. Just horrible games. The Steelers are going to lose this game, and it's going to set up a really ominous situation the next week, Sunday, November 3rd, 4:25 on CBS at New England.
Oh, my goodness. That's trouble. I'm going to tell you, I think that Rob Gronkowski, it's his first game back in the lineup that week, and he scores 8 touchdowns.
None while he's being covered by Cortez Allen, though.
No, I think that we lose that game as well. I think we drop to 3-5.
Yeah, I got that as a loss. I don't see any way we win that game. So next week is home against Buffalo. Steelers are 3-5 at this point. Bills are coming into town. The Bills are horrible. They don't really have any good players. If the Steelers don't have any top 10 players, Buffalo, they seem to be a little bit of a mess. I think Paul Posluszny might be their best player.
You're forgetting C.J. Spiller.
Yeah, but he doesn't worry me. I don't get worried about that. It doesn't bother me.
Well, I think he's going to run for 200 yards. But
I like Fred Jackson.
I still think the Steelers win.
You got this as a win. I got this as a win as well. I think the Steelers' offense gets back on track.
Yeah, so it's a shootout, I think. C.J. Spiller runs for 200 yards. E.J. Manuel, the rookie, throws for a couple scores. We have a hard time containing Stevie Johnson. You remember that game against the Steelers? I think it was against the Steelers when Stevie Johnson dropped a long touchdown pass that was right in his hands in the end zone.
That was like a couple years ago, and I think if we lost that game, we would have not made the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that happens again to Stevie Johnson. And again, he blames it on God, which I think happened last time. I think he said, it was just God's plan for him to drop that pass. I think, again, Stevie Johnson drops a potential game-winning touchdown pass, blames God, and the Steelers win by 3.
Well, God giveth and God taketh.
Not to Stevie Johnson. God just taketh.
God catcheth and God droppeth.
Right.
All right, so Sunday, November 17th, Steelers are 4-5 at this point, desperate need of a win. The Detroit Lions come to town, 1 o'clock on Fox.
I think the Lions are terrible. I really do. I think that Matthew Stafford is going to throw multiple interceptions. I think that Calvin Johnson, the Steelers will get out to a lead. Calvin Johnson, they'll be playing catch up, and Calvin Johnson will have like 200 yards receiving, but they're not going to beat us.
So you have this as a win for the Steelers?
I do.
I'm going to go with a win as well. I don't think that Stafford's going to play well outside. I think there's going to be some elements at this game.
He throws off his back foot. Jarvis Jones is going to emerge.
You can't throw off your back foot. Wait, is that Minnesota game, by the way? Isn't that game in London? Week 4?
It could be. We didn't count on that. That's a big factor.
All right, so that brings the Steelers. I think we both, at this point, have them at 5-5. Then Week 12 at Cleveland. And for those who plan on using this podcast as a TV guide, that game's at 1 on CBS.
Yeah, I think this is upset city for the city of Pittsburgh. I think Cleveland is going to be really pumped for this game. I think I've said to you previously that the Steelers' best players are not as good as the Browns' best players. And that's going to really be apparent in this game. Trent Richardson is going to run all over us. Joe Hayden is going to shut down Antonio Brown. And Brandon Whedon is going to throw a game-winning touchdown pass in the fourth quarter. The Browns win 20-17.
I think this is a loss. I don't see the Steelers getting a lot of points and drop to 5-6 in a crucial loss. And at this point are in last place in the AFC North or Central. AFC North, yeah. It's disappointing times. Look, you're going to be upset. Nothing you can say. It's going to hurt. Then, now, here's where things could get really ugly. Week 13, the Steelers are sitting at 5-6. Thanksgiving night at Baltimore, 8:30 on NBC. Everybody in the country is going to be watching this game.
We're going to get absolutely annihilated. I mean, you can't overstate this, how badly they're going to beat us on Thanksgiving. It's going to be ugly. We're going to try to hang in there. We're going to try to play, smash mouth football. They're absolutely going to hand it to us. They could beat us 45-3.
I think this could be the first game in NFL history where a defensive player, Terrell Suggs, actually lifts a quarterback over his head and throws him out of the stadium. I think he's going to have like 11 sacks in this game.
Haloti Ngata will bull rush Marquise Pouncey into Roethlisberger, knocking Roethlisberger down, and then will take a fork and a knife out of his uniform and carve up Ben's leg. That's going to be a sack celebration.
And just eat it.
And eat it right on the field.
All right, so that drops the Steelers to 5-7. And
I love how we've gotten to the same place.
Yeah, we're at the same place. Sunday, December 8th. Need to win out at this point. You're 5-7. The Miami Dolphins coming to town. Sunday, December 8th, 1 o'clock, CBS.
We're going to beat the Dolphins. Mike Wallace will have an opportunity to score a touchdown early in the game and drop the ball. and that will just send the Dolphins into a psychological downward spiral. We will handle them with relative ease, and one of the few easy victories of the season for the Steelers. We're going to beat them 28-17.
I'm going the other way. I think this is rock bottom. I think this is one of those home games. The Steelers don't show up. They show up, but what shows up is their true colors. And the true colors are that this is not a very good team this year. And they're not necessarily better than Miami. It's not about the logo on the outside of the jersey. It's about the talent on the inside of the jersey. And in a game like this, I don't know that the Steelers have more talent inside the jersey than outside the jersey. So I think the Steelers drop to 5-8, and essentially the season's over at this point for the Steelers.
The Steelers have better jerseys, though.
Well, they do have better jerseys, yeah. And that counts for something. I mean, over the course of 45, 50 years, whatever we are now at the NFL.
It's a better jersey.
What would you rather have? Would you rather win Week 14 against the Dolphins or have better jerseys? You'd rather have better jerseys that last longer.
Obviously.
All right, so home against Cincinnati the next week. Oh, look, 8:30 p.m. on NBC. So we get to see now either the 5-8 or 6-7 Steelers hosting the Bengals on Sunday Night Football.
Listen, let's not overthink this. The Steelers are going to lose. The Bengals are a much better team than we are at this point. They have a very good defense. In fact, I tried to draft them tonight. It didn't work out. I tried to draft them. Very good. I also tried to draft Giovanni Bernard. That didn't work out. He went for $21, which I think was excessive. But he's going to be a good player. A.J. Green's going to destroy us. They drafted Tyler Eifert. I don't have any regrets about our draft. I think that Jarvis Jones is clearly going to be a really good player. But so is Tyler Eifert, and he'll catch a TD in prime time for the Bengals, and they're going to handle us with ease.
I think this is a game where the men show up. I think Ben rallies the troops. I think you show a lot of heart. You wear your heart on your sleeve. And Roethlisberger wears his heart on his sleeve. And I think he guts the Steelers to an upset victory over the first-place Cincinnati Bengals.
Wow, that's pretty bold.
Keeping the Steelers, they are not yet mathematically eliminated from the playoffs at this point, even though we both have them at 6-8.
This is when Brett Kiesel drives his tractor right into a lake. He just acknowledges that there's no construction of a Super Bowl team. He doesn't drive the tractor. He just turns it on and directs it into a wall.
And
that's what happens at this point.
Right. And he
pops
a tricep when he hits the water.
And pops a tricep. What do you have the Steelers at right now?
I have the Steelers at 6-8. So do you.
Okay.
So they're not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, and so their hopes now hinge on Sunday, December 22nd, 4:25 on CBS at the Green Bay Packers.
Ooh, that's
yeah, it's not good. That's not good. Go
ahead.
I got this as a loss. I think that Aaron Rodgers, Dick LeBeau's defenses are great statistically. Smart quarterbacks they do well against everybody. They're good, smart quarterbacks for a reason. But it seems like the Steelers are particularly susceptible to, extremely competent quarterbacks, and he's one of them. So unless we don't have the most ball hawking defense at this point. So if we're not forcing him into turnovers, he could light us up.
I got to tell you, you might be shocked to hear this, but I'm going the other way. I think we're seeing a transition for the Steelers defense from a team that cannot stop the pass under any circumstances to a team that cannot stop the run. And I think we frustrate the Packers through the air. Combination of Cortez Allen and Ike Taylor shutting down Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb. And while we let Eddie Lacy do a little bit of damage, it's not enough. And I think it's a close game, and Ben pulls it out. And a small measure of vindication for the Super Bowl loss a few years ago.
Let me ask you this. The Steelers now are sitting at 7-8, according to your hypothetical season. As part of your hypothetical season, is Cortez Allen the hypothetical defensive player of the year at this point? Because I think he has like 11 interception returns for touchdowns by week 15.
He does. Listen, MVP is not off the table. It's between Cortez Allen, Peyton Manning, and Drew Brees.
And so 7-8. I want now in your hypothetical season, are the Steelers still mathematically alive going into week 17? I have been 6-9.
Oh, absolutely, they're alive.
All right, so home.
You have them 6-9 right now.
Yeah, I do. Home against Cleveland. Who do you got?
We're going to lose to Cleveland. Let down. After the Cortez Allen show against the Packers, Cortez Allen gets beaten by an emerging Josh Gordon for a couple of touchdowns, and Cleveland's defense plays shutdown ball against the Steelers, and we lose 17-6.
Now, is the scenario going to break where had the Steelers won this game, they would have made the playoffs at 8-8?
No, they wouldn't make the playoffs.
So really,
it's not an issue because they're not going to finish with 8 wins.
Right. I'm saying if they had won this game, would they have made the playoffs?
No, they wouldn't have made the playoffs.
All right, I got this as a loss. I think the Steelers are going to lose this game.
You're saying that like you're saying something different than I just said. We both said it was a loss. You're like, well, I got this as a loss. Well, so do I.
I want to point something out to you about your picks that I just noticed. You got the Steelers going 0-6 against the division.
Yeah.
So this is the last place team in your mind in the AFC North.
We're the worst team in the AFC North. Yes.
So you got 7-9. Wow. Now see, I went 6-10, but I feel like your 7-9 is more negative than my 6-10.
Call it what you will. I don't think we're as good as any team in the AFC North. I really don't. I don't think we're as good as Cleveland. I think they have a chip on their shoulder. I don't think they've swept us in a season series probably, I'm guessing since 1981 or something like that.
It's been quite some time.
Yeah.
All right, so Steelers aren't in the playoffs. Let's just go on record. I don't know if I mentioned this. Week 17, if anybody wants to watch that game, it's 1 o'clock on CBS. Who's your Super Bowl pick?
Oh, man. I hadn't really thought this through, but I'll do it now on the fly. I am going to say from the AFC, you're looking at the Cincinnati Bengals.
Wow. You're an Andy Dalton believer.
I just believe in their team. I think they have enough weapons on offense to do some damage, and I think they have an outstanding defense. I think it's going to be the Bengals from the AFC. But that's not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. From the NFC, I'm going to tell you after you tell me your AFC pick, so I'm buying myself some time to think about it.
Well, I like Cincinnati. That's an interesting pick. And I think that Steelers fans would be wise not to slam that pick on the grounds that Andy Dalton is their quarterback. Because Roethlisberger started his career very well, but he was a game manager for his first 3-4 years, you know? And that's why I think, making fun of Flacco like a lot of people do, or Andy Dalton, like those guys are young. They haven't hit their ceiling yet. There's no doubt that Andy Dalton could turn out to be as good as Joe Flacco, who's good enough to win a Super Bowl. So it's not a crazy pick. But I'm looking at the AFC. The AFC is whack, man. The AFC sucks.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go with Denver.
Yeah, that's a popular pick.
Denver. I think Denver's good. I mean, Manning's solid. Who's their coach?
It's what's his face, John Fox.
Yeah, he's been to a Super Bowl before. I'll go with Denver, and then out of the NFC, I'm going to go. I hate to do this. I just hate it because I don't want it to happen, but I just think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be the Redskins.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a shocking pick.
I think you're going to see the Redskins against the Broncos.
Wow.
In the Super
I don't
Bowl.
see that. Although it's not unreasonable. I think the two best teams are the two best teams from last year, the Redskins or the 49ers and the Seahawks. And I think what's interesting about those teams is they both have the two young, good quarterbacks in Russell Wilson and Colin Kaepernick, and they both have a weak receiving core, in large part because of injuries to Percy Harvin for Seattle and Michael Crabtree for the 49ers. But I just think the 49ers have a little bit of an edge in quarterback play and in defense, and I see the 49ers getting back to the Super Bowl to play the Bengals in a rematch of, I think that was 1981.
I think, didn't Joe Montana have 6 touchdowns in that game?
I don't think so, but he had a few.
Well, that's interesting. So who do you have winning? I have the Broncos because I'm certainly not picking the Redskins to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'll take the 49ers. I haven't thought this through at all. We just got an email from Randy who left a comment on our podcast post. And Randy says, I quote, "My mom got Dupuy's autograph at the Pirates AA team game on Friday and described his hands as, quote, unbelievably soft," end quote.
I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody.
No, I don't think anyone's surprised.
Nah, that's would you expect him to have hands any other way?
No.
I just think that after the games, what happens is that after they shower, I think Kunitz gathers the boys around. He says, "Hey, come on, boys, get around, boys," and he just shows them how to take care of your hands, how to moisturize. He's got his herbs and botanicals in his locker, and he's just rubbing them on his hands, and he's showing the boys how to do it.
Can you imagine what it would be like to touch Mario's hands?
Yeah, I think it'd be just like touching anybody else's hands, to be honest.
How soft do you think they are?
Very, very soft. Very, very soft hands there's no hand softer than the hand of a 50-year-old man.
Do you think, like, if my daughter, Artist Rhett, she has like a little blanket that it's very soft. She sleeps with it every night. Do you think if I somehow procured Chris Kunitz's hands and she had a chance to sleep with those hands, that she would just discard her blanket immediately?
You want your daughter to sleep with Chris Kunitz's hands?
I'm not sure that I would.
Well, that's unconventional parenting, but who am I to judge?
Can I ask you a question now that we're done talking about the Steelers season, which is not that exciting?
Yeah. We might only have 50 seconds left before the tape runs out, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we've been going for a while here. But if you're still with us, you're about to be rewarded. Do you think a man needs to wear a wedding ring?
Needs to, no, but I think that the costs of not doing it are greater than the benefits of not doing it.
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on how you.
Everyone, because I think you get judged. I think people judge you.
By whom?
By other people who know you're married and you're not wearing wedding. I personally don't care, but I'm not married.
My dad has never worn his wedding ring. I don't even know if he had a wedding ring. He just never wore it, and it never seemed to matter. My question is, first of all, I don't like to wear a ring.
This podcast is ending in 8 seconds, by the way. We only have 45 minutes of airtime.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we got 3, 2.
Is it over?
I think it might be over, but you can keep talking about it. If it's over, it's over. But
all right, well, so here's the thing. I have a wedding ring that's a little too small for me. It pinches my finger. I go to work every day. I'm just in my office. I'm typing, whatever. Everybody knows I'm married. Do I need to wear that thing? My view is no.
Could you move it and wear it on your pinky?
Well, so here's the other part of this that you need to understand. When we moved, my wedding ring somehow, I'm not going to say it was lost because it wasn't. I knew that it was somewhere, but I didn't have it with me.
It's always somewhere.
I knew it was somewhere. I knew it was packed. And so I didn't have a wedding ring on for like the last year. And Mrs. Artistry didn't notice this for like many months. And then